As many of you know, in US, Toys R Us went bankrupt, and then they sold all the franchisees around the world. And I, together with the CEO of Toys R Us Portugal at the time, and with that other partner, Business Angel, we bought Toys R Us Iberia. And I have been a business angel for many years, and I've developed a strategy which is called the zero risk startup in order to mitigate the risks of the investment. And I tried to apply many of these techniques to Toys R Us, to a big corporate. And this is what I'm going to show you, some of the results of applying these techniques, which in my opinion worked very well. And it's always good to be a startup in a big corporate. So why startups and the corporates die? It's because the valley of death. And even a corporate with many years, there will be a time that they will start getting out of cash, and they will not be able to recover. And when we analyze where usually the companies fail, usually startups fail not in research or in development. When the startups are developing the product, everything is going well. They are super fond that the company will succeed, it will be a hit. But then when they go to the market and they do the product launch, then it's a big problem. This is the time of the truth. Until they go to the market, everything is perfect. So I developed this graph for startups, and basically here it's a probability of an entrepreneur to raise money for his or her venture, and here is the mitigated risks. In any business, we have 5 risks. Is the market risk, if there is market, how is the competition going to react? We have the entrepreneur's team risk, if they are ready and they have the abilities and the skills, as was mentioned before, to succeed and to make this reality. Then we have the legal risk, the financial risk, and the operational risk. So operational risk is if someone knows how to operate the business. So why is this relevant? Because on this side of the chart, we have someone that has a crazy idea to turn water into diesel for cars. And he has dreamt that he can create a company to turn water into diesel, very easy. So he goes to the bank here, Active Bank here in Turkey, and he asks for $5 billion to create a plant. So he doesn't know anything, he has just an idea. So the probability of this entrepreneur to raise money is almost 0. I never put 0 because there are always crazy people around there, and they can invest. So I never put 0. Before I was putting 0, but then I saw some crazy stuff there on the ICOs, for instance, where people know that it's not real, but people still invest, and it's really crazy. But okay, so the probability of this entrepreneur to raise money is almost 0. And on that side, we have an entrepreneur that knows how to operate the business. He has clients. He has received money from his clients to start the business. And then he goes to the bank, and of course, he has experience. He has done this before. He has a good team. He has market. He has no legal risk. So the probability of him to raise money is 100%. And why is this relevant? Because there is these animals called banks that they accept very little risk. So if there is more risk, then the entrepreneur needs to go to a mutual guarantee entity to guarantee the banks in case of failure from the entrepreneur. If there is more risk, then the entrepreneur needs to go to venture capital. If there is more risk, then he needs to go to business angels. And then if there is more risk, then he can go crowdfunding and then ICOs. And from that point, his family, friends, fools, and the state. It's very important that the state in the world are playing very important role in funding non-sustainable businesses, and this is the only way that some businesses still are working or waiting for his dead, his zombies, as Pedro was mentioning, the zombies. So why is this relevant as well? Because 95% of the projects that are presented to investors are here, 95%. And only 5% are there. So of course, if 95% are here, what are the chances of the entrepreneur to raise money? Very, very little. So there are two possibilities for any entrepreneur. One possibility is to think that the governments and the states will say that all these people here will accept more risk, so it doesn't need to do anything. Just relax and wait for the future, because the future will come. So you don't need to do anything. Or, of course, mitigate the risk and reduce the risk on the project. So this one, I see the computer is different, so it puts there. But I applied the same philosophy to probability of a corporate to raise or to invest money for a new project, and the same kind of risks, because the risks are the same. In a company, if a new product, a new initiative will have a market, if the team that will execute is ready and has the ability and the skills to do it, if it's legal or not, if it's financial risk, and if there is a financial risk and operational risk. So it is the same philosophy. So the first thing is identifying the project risks, market risk, team risk, legal risk, and financial and operational risk. And in a corporate, get the managers out of the comfort zone and ask them to reduce the risk. Because it's very easy when you are in a corporate, you just ask money for anything. I want to do a campaign, just ask money, and someone will take a decision. It's not very usual that they start thinking with the startup mindset, thinking they have no money. So if you tell the managers, think that you have no money, that you are in a startup, they start thinking in an innovative way and start coming with great ideas to the corporate, reducing the risk. And I will tell you several of these things that we did in Toys R Us Iberia. Of course, there are millions of risks in any business, but the ones that are important and we need to focus on is on the high probability and high impact. Those are the ones that really matter, because these are the ones that can have a real impact. So after we identify, we need to level them, so to say if there is high impact, high probability. And after we level them, then we need to eliminate, we need to reduce, we need to transfer, and we need to accept. For instance, to eliminate, one example I usually give to entrepreneurs, and we can use in a corporate. Imagine a corporate or entrepreneur that comes and pitch to investors and say, look, I need $1 million from you, and I will do this, that, and then I will get the license to operate. So what do the investors think if he doesn't get the license? Because he may not get the license by many of the reasons. But if the entrepreneur says, I need $1 million, but you will only put the money. I need your commitment now so that I can continue, but you will only put the money when I have the license to operate. So the risk, the legal risk of the investor has disappeared, because he will only invest when the license is given. It's totally different. It's just this small thing, and it changes the way the investors see the business. So you can eliminate a risk, you can reduce, you can transfer. So eventually, if you buy an insurance, sometimes it's possible to buy insurance for several risks. Then you transfer, and of course you need to accept. Because the mindset of many entrepreneurs is, I have the idea, there will be some rich guys there that with deep pockets, they will put all the money there. So they are called the investors. If the project doesn't go well, they lose the money, but they are there for this. They are the investors. And if it goes well, the project, I'm a millionaire as an entrepreneur, so I don't take any risk. So this mindset that puts all the risk into the investors and doesn't put the entrepreneurs to mitigate the risk it's a problem. One of the, I don't know if you were in my panel in the morning, I was talking about one case study of one of my portfolio companies is called United Resins, and the entrepreneurs were looking for 10 million euros, and I told them, look, and they have contacted VCs and banks, and they were unable to raise money, but through the risk mitigation process, we made the process we reduced the risk a lot, and the company is a huge success. So the first thing I told them is, okay, how much does it take to create a lab to produce samples for the clients? And they said 400,000 euros for machinery and 100,000 for people. Then I told them, okay, and can you rent the machinery? Why do we need to buy the machinery? You rent. If it goes well, the company, then you can buy it bigger or whatever. And they tried to rent. They could not find people that wanted to rent. Then I told them, can you talk with the manufacturers of this equipment and ask them if the company fails in 1 year time, if they can buy you back the same equipment, of course used, but for 50% of the price. Surprise, the manufacturers accepted. So from 400,000 euros risk, we came to 200,000 plus 100,000 in people. So we came to 300,000. They were on 10 million euros. Now we are in 300,000, so we mitigated a lot the risk. Because if the clients accepted the samples and they tested the samples and they were happy, they would put us as one of the 3 suppliers for each of the products. And we did that. It was a very good process. We learned a lot. The entrepreneurs learned that the market that they were thinking to attack was not really there, because the clients were already served with a lot of those products, but the clients said, but we have here new products. So they developed new products, and surprise, all the machinery that they were going to buy before, they are not going to buy anymore. And instead of a 10 million euro investment, we did 20 million euro investment in the factory. And in the first year of this startup, we did 24.5 million euros as revenue, profitable from day one. Profitable from day one. In a traditional way, the company would be bankrupt today. So Toys R Us has annual sales of $170 million, 1,200 employees. We have 60 stores in Portugal and Spain. You can have a look there in the map. And we have 3 million registered clients in our databases. And the first thing that with the startup mindset that we did is what is the traditional way that these companies that toys do. They have a buying department, usually with people with 20 years or more experience in buying toys. And of course, when you are 20 years doing the same thing, it's very difficult to change. So the first thing is we said, let's put kids choosing the toys. Why do we need a buying department to choose the toys? So, and we said, okay, let's put the kids choosing the toys. And we did a focus group with the kids and with the parents as well, because sometimes it's the parents that buy the gifts to the kids. Depends on the type of toys. And we learned a lot. And from a traditional toy retailer, let's call like this, what we came from the focus group and things that we started implementing. Because this was on a traditional way that the buying department is doing the things, nothing would change. So we learned that parents and kids wanted a Toys R Us Academy to be something after the school that could complement the knowledge. That was something that we didn't know. They wanted also personalized wrapping paper. So we have in our stores now personalized wrapping paper. So you can put your name of your kids, of who you want, in the wrapping paper. And you can choose the paper pattern. We also have from Benfica, I'm from Sporting, but from Benfica, is a football club there in Portugal. We also have an official wrapping paper from the Benfica team. They wanted escape rooms, but how would the buying department, 20 years doing the same thing in a company, think to have escape rooms in the stores? So we implemented escape rooms in the stores. And other is the Toys R Us parties. They wanted also to have parties in Toys R Us because we have a lot of toys there. So we start organizing parties for kids. But it's with the startup mindset. It's like we know nothing, and I tell them, you know nothing, the market knows everything. And if the market likes the product, it's a great product. If the market doesn't like the product, it's a bad product. So please don't tell me this is a good product. You understand? So let's do this. And we have implemented several things here. I'm not going to spend a lot of time. Second thing is, when you are in a corporate, it's very difficult to have a startup mindset that the leader is there in all the decisions or very close to the decisions. So when you have a lot of departments, for them to communicate is very difficult. And one of the things is, when we came, we identified that all the products were coming from the same warehouse in Madrid. So we have a warehouse in Madrid, and it takes 24 hours to deliver the product in any part of Iberia. So no matter where you are. And we came to the guy from the logistics and said, but why are we supplying all our products online from the e-commerce from Madrid? We have stores everywhere. We have 60 stores. Why? If there is someone in Malaga that asks for a toy, we can deliver in 2 hours. So why are we delivering? And the answer was with a big smile to us, like we understand zero about this business, because we were coming, and he said, because we have the same price everywhere, so we deliver. And I said with a big smile to him, and about the consumer, don't you think that if he receives 20 in 2 hours is better than in 24 hours? Oh, I'm just the logistics department. So the mindset that the logistics department is trying to maximize the logistics department, which is not bad, but it doesn't have the full, the 360 degrees view of all the company and what is the importance to the consumer. So we need to change that culture and innovation culture and change that. Another thing that we did for the risk, on the legal risk, so these were on the market risk. On the legal risk, one of the things that when we came is we were liable for any product risk. So if there is a product that has some problem, we would be liable, and the producer not. So we changed that immediately, so that the producer, if it's the fault of the product, the producer is taking all the risks on that. One of the things that when you have no money, when a startup has no money and you want to sell a product, it's simple as you can say to someone, it says, why don't you do product consignation so that the product that you are selling does not belong to you, belongs to the supplier until you sell it. So this is called a product consignation. What are the advantages? First, you don't need to pay for it in advance. Second, if the product doesn't sell, you just return it. Third, it's you only buy exactly what you really need in terms of this product. So this made a huge change, and we said to them, behave as if you do not have money. So we told them, behave as if you don't have money, and they wanted more products and they wanted to buy more products, the buying department. So we started with the product consignation. This reduced our financial risk a lot. So many products that the buying department said it will be a hit, then they were not, but we were in product consignation, so this was absolutely fantastic. This also helps, reduces the risk of the buying department. Why? A lot of startups come to us and say, hey, I have here a fantastic product. Do you want to buy? And the mindset of a corporate is, I need to place an order. There is the risk that the market will not accept. But with this mindset of risk mitigation, the buying department feels there is no risk. Consignation, if it sells, it sells. If it doesn't sell, it doesn't sell. So we are able to bring more innovative products to our shelves just because of this different mindset of innovative. And we are helping a lot of startups to sell our products in the shelves. Another situation which is related with the first thing is drop shipment. I don't know if you are aware what is drop shipment. Drop shipment is we have an order, so someone places an order. We don't have the product. The product is in the warehouse of the producer, of the manufacturer, and the transport goes directly from the manufacturer to our client. So this reduces our inventory levels, cash needs, reduces risk of destroying, reduces costs for moving goods in our warehouse, transportation costs as well from one side to the other. And of course, it takes more time to deliver if we do all the traditional process. But if you have a startup mindset that you don't have the money, you need to reduce costs, you need to do this, then dropshipment became a natural solution. And so we have implemented dropshipment with many suppliers. So when a client orders some of our products, they are supplied directly by our suppliers. And this is it's very interesting, and we don't take risk. On this, another one that is interesting is we received a proposal from the marketing department saying we want to do a campaign and include it in some buses and in Spain and Portugal. And then we said, but is there a way that we can reduce this? And we saw that per day we have between 30 trucks coming to our warehouse and departing, to 100 trucks. There are some days that we have 100 trucks because in peak days in Christmas we have 100 trucks. So we said, okay, but we are one big client for these companies. Can we use their facade of the trucks? And the marketing department, oh, we have never thought. So we talked with the transportation companies, and they accepted. Yes, you want? Just put the logos there and whatever. So we start putting logos of Toys R Us in the transportation companies that are distributing our products, and not just our products, but other products as well. And it reduced a lot of money, and it was a good initiative. In terms of operational risk, we also add a lot of services and experience versus only selling products. Before, Toys R Us was like this. You can see a little bit like a warehouse. And now our new stores that we have already launched, and they are like this, so innovative. So by understanding the market needs, we can also reduce the risk of the launch. And we tested several. Before we developed the full concept, we tested different parts of the concept in different stores, and we understood what works and what doesn't work. So we didn't come as a big corporate and say, we are going to develop all this new concept without testing it. So we did as a startup model without, let's say, without money, just always on the mindset there is money. Because if you put in the mindset of the corporate managers that you have a lot of money, then a lot of mistakes are done. So if you think that there is no money, then we can do things like this. Last one that I brought is a private label advantage. So one thing that we see is when we sell a product from a manufacturer like Lego, Hasbro, you can find that product usually in online in other competitors, and of course there is a price war there. But if we have our private label, so we have our own products with our brand, we can do two things. First, we don't have price comparison because it's our brand. Second, we can have better margins and we can serve better the client. And that's what we did. So we are increasing a lot of our private label in our stores, and this is becoming a huge advantage for us. And we are super happy with our program, and is improving. So these were some of the ideas that I brought to you, just to say that when we mitigate the risk in a startup, we can apply absolutely the same concept to big corporate with good results. It reduces risk and improves profitability and improves the mood of the people there. But of course, cultural change is very, very difficult because people are used to do things in the same way. So this is the biggest challenge on a big corporate, is to change the mindset of the people. But if we find the champions that are able to do this in a good way, then we start having a lot of successes, and one here, one there, another there, and it starts contaminating people. And those that are not innovative and don't think as a startup, they start feeling a little bit bad, and they are forced to change as well. It's of course, it's never ended story, but it's going very well. If there is any questions that you want to take, yes. It can be for this case or any other case or startup.
The level of governance and compliance of startup is lower than corporate.
Yeah.
So how do you do this? I mean, what is the balance to absorb this mindset from startup, but given then the governance in the corporate is much higher, the level. So how do you do this balance?
You need to empower people, and you need to accept that failure is part of the process. So we say to people, we are not afraid of failing in any of the initiatives. We need them to fail cheap and fast. So we want them to fail cheap and fast. If you fail cheap and fast, it's absolutely no problem. You will receive some candies, as the last panel we had. But of course, if you fail, if you take too much time to fail and it costs a lot of money, then it's a problem for the corporate. So if people in a corporate, they are a little bit afraid to fail, because then it's the other people will see that they have failed. But we have tried to tell them that if you don't try new things, then you don't change, and if you don't change, you will die. So we need to change, and if part of the change is to find new things, many will fail. So let's do a lot of things and try to make it happen.
Thank you, Paulo. Can you share with us some failing initiatives in Toys R Us?
Some failing initiatives that we thought that it would work, and it didn't. Yeah. It didn't work. There was one thing that we thought that it would be it would be good. We tried to do initiatives putting parents together with kids. So we thought that the parents would like to do things with the kids. And in Portugal, it is the fact. So we say to the kids, hey, do you want to do an initiative with the parents and you are together? And yes. In Spain, it's absolutely the opposite. We were surprised that we say to the parents, if we do this initiative, blah, 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 they don't hear what is the initiative. They just say, can I leave the kid there 3 hours and then pick them later? They don't hear the initiative. Oh, it's a fantastic initiative. Which one are you talking? I don't know. I leave the kid there 3 hours. So they were very happy. And when we talk with the kids and we say, look, this initiative, Treasure Hunt, is one of the initiatives that we were talking with the kids. They say, wow, you're going to do that. Wow, I'm so enthusiastic about it. We are going to do this with your parents. Oh, no, I don't like the initiative. Turn down the initiative. I don't do the initiative. So something that we assumed that they wanted to do something with the parents because it was our what we thought. In reality, it didn't work. And so some of the initiatives we launched to do parents and kids in Spain didn't work as planned. But what did we lose with that? Nothing. We didn't lose anything, and we learned a lot.
Yeah,
we learned a lot.
Yeah, and any hard decision regarding team leaders
Yeah, of
or
course.
modifications?
It's when people don't want to change and try to keep the old model in the process. You try to talk with the person, try to engage in the change environment, and if the person doesn't adapt and the person doesn't want to adapt and tries to boycott it or whatever, then you need to fire the person. There is no other way to do it, because otherwise the company will be hijacked by 2 or 3 people. You know, it's not possible. It was something that we were already expecting, and we needed to do. Yes.
This might be like very specific questions in terms for Toys R Us. With those initiatives, did you see like an increase of traffic inside the stores? And if you saw an increase, with these strategies, did you see an increase of on-site sales versus online sales? Or did the on-site sales decreased with people spending more time inside the store and buying more online?
So all the initiatives that we have developed, we have monitored the impact and the satisfaction of the consumers as well, and if the client returned or not. One of the first initiatives, I didn't have time to talk about all the initiatives that we did, but was to evaluate if the parents would be a good target for buying things for the parents themselves. And so we started putting an area in 3 stores that was called the Freaky Zone, which is the zone for the kid adults, you know, kid adults. So this is the area, and where the Harry Potter figures, this kind of stuff. And it was a hit. And so we have now in all our stores Freaky Zone, which is dedicated to parents. So we saw a huge demand for this, and we saw this this market. On the new concept, we have increased 100% sales per square meter with the new concept, 100%. So it's very good results. We are very happy with the results. But what I tell the team is, despite our success, we cannot just sleep and wait for the future. We need to continue innovating. Yeah.
Who usually contract you from the customer? I mean, the CEO, the CFO?
Contract the customer or the...
No, the customer. What department or I mean, from the customer side, contract you? With the CEO that
contract with me?
Contract you to do this.
If you do this for other...
I'm shareholder. I'm the owner.
No. If you do this for a corporate.
For okay. If I would do this as a consultant for a corporate, who would do this? It needs to be the CEO. Must be absolutely involved in the board. If you don't have the board and the CEO engaged in changing, nothing happens, because they will always boycott things, you know. Yeah. But I'm not doing this service just to my companies where I invest in.
Hello, I would like to ask you a personal question.
I'm sporting my team is sporting.
So until coming to this point to lead your company in an innovative way and stuff, how many times did you fail in the past, and what was your biggest lesson?
Look, in terms of failure, I think we all fail, and the question is not to fail, is to fail fast and quick, fast and cheap. And if you fail fast and cheap, there is no big problem. So fortunately, I don't have any big failure, any company that went bankrupt. So I have I don't have that experience. So I'm trying always to be a little bit cautious. And sometimes when you are a bit cautious and you reduce the risks, sometimes you don't have, sometimes use all the potential. But I prefer not to put everything on stake, to be more sustainable and to do step by step. I'm writing a book. I started writing this book 2 years ago, but then in the meantime I appeared another book that I launched last week. It was in Portugal, and I'm writing this about how to mitigate the risks of startups, because I feel that if we mitigate the risks of startups, the willingness of investors will increase a lot. I give this example in my workshops. Imagine that you are an investor and you have $100,000 to invest. And if you have $100,000 to invest, then I come here, an entrepreneur, oh, I have a great idea, I want you to invest in my company, and I give you 5% annual rate of return, let's say, 5%. And it's a bit risky. Imagine that you have in the bank guaranteed 1% rate of return in terms of interest rate. So you have 2 options or 3 options: 0% at home, you take the $100,000 at home, you invest, you put in the bank, you have 1%, or you invest in the startup, 5%. So are you going to invest in the startup, 5%? Are you going? No, because it's too risky, correct? But if I tell you that the World Bank, due to this fantastic work that you have done, decides now to support entrepreneurship worldwide and guarantees that if the entrepreneur doesn't give you the 5%, the World Bank will come and give you immediately 5% as an investor. So you have 3 options: 0% at home, 1% in the bank, and 5% in the startup with the guarantee of the World Bank. What are you going to do? And you don't have other options. Are you going to invest in the startup? So what changed? Risk, simply risk, nothing else. The startup didn't change. So basically, if we change the risk perception of the investors so that they see that there is not so much risk, they will invest. If you talk with, if you see these 2 studies I've mentioned in the morning, there are 2 studies very important. One is from CB Insights in the US about why startups fail. And the other one is from IBAN, why investors do not invest in startups. The main reason is because the project had too many risks. The second reason is valuation. So these are the 2 topics. Yes.
Yeah, but startup is total risk.
Why it has to be total risk? I disagree totally with you.
No.
I disagree totally with you. It doesn't have to be, I've started many companies myself, and it doesn't need to be total risk.
No, what I am coming there. I mean,
Okay.
it's a starting point, when you look at the startup, before doing the valuation, before doing all these data checks, it is risk, what you start up from the beginning. Then once you understand, as an investor, I am talking investor point of view.
Yes.
Then you eliminate the risk with your understanding, with the reports and data, and then you take the risk elimination in that investment, and you invest. But of course, once you eliminate so many risks, then your return will be lower.
Disagree totally.
That is
I totally disagree. This mindset that people think that me as an entrepreneur, I don't need to do anything to mitigate my risk. And if I mitigate my risk, the return will be lower. I think this is, I don't agree with this. I think this is completely wrong. I can give many examples of how to mitigate risk. For instance, when an entrepreneur comes to me and says, I need $1 million, I would say that 90% of the times, I reduce the needs of this entrepreneur by 70 to 80%. It's simple. What entrepreneur wants to buy car, wants to buy equipment? Rent it until the market has proved. Do a prototype. I was talking today about prototypes. It's crazy, people asking me money for prototypes. I don't understand. And what I do with the entrepreneurs that ask me money, I ask, why do you need money for the prototype? I need 30,000 euros. But for what? How I need a battery that costs 7,500 euros. Who produces the batteries? Oh, this company. Let me call them. Call the battery salesperson and say, hey, do you have any battery that you can just allow to test, because they are doing this project, and they will give you the right of first refusal if your battery is good. They are testing different batteries. Oh yeah, no problem, just come. We have some used and you can test. So battery you don't need to buy. But so, of course, it's easier to get the money from the investor and buy the battery. Then, I need to buy a machine because it needs to cut. Where are the industries with this machine? That industry. Hey, do you work on Sundays? No, we don't work. Look, I have an entrepreneur. You'd like to use your machine for half an hour or 1 hour. Would you mind? Yes, come, no problem. We can help you. So, reduce the risk. There is no need for buying a machine. But we need raw material, and raw material is a cost. Look, who produces raw material? This company. Okay, let's call the company. Hey, we have your entrepreneur. He's testing different raw materials. You'd like to test yours. Do you have any spare material? Yes. How many do you need for the sample? Oh, this material. Okay, good. You have this material. Then you tell me what this risk mitigation process affects the potential of the project. Zero. Affects zero. It is because you reduce the risk. It doesn't mean that the potential is reduced. It doesn't work. It doesn't work like this. You need to force the entrepreneurs to reduce risk, to mitigate risk. Yes.
I want to elaborate for a few words. Actually, there's always a misconception of understanding risk. In the SME and startup world, there's always the word of high risk. But when you tell them that it might be a different risk, not a high risk, then the way of thinking will be different, and the way of mitigating and dealing with this risk will be different. There's a lot of opportunities that has been lost because so many projects, whether they are SMEs, VSEs, or startups, were identified as high risk and they are out. But when you look at them as they are a different risk, you start thinking of how you will deal with this risk, then to mitigate, as Paulo said, whether you transfer this risk or any other ways to mitigate the risk. And I think this is something that the investors, financiers really need to put that in mind before taking the decision that this is a high risk. It's just something I would love to...
Can I give you an example, a simple example? You want to do online business selling iPhones, let's assume, okay? Selling iPhones, you think that you have a market for this. And if you buy 100 iPhones, then you can buy them for $700 each. If you don't buy 100 and you buy less, you buy it for $900. So you have an advantage of buying 700. So you as an entrepreneur, as you have thought about this idea, and you need to buy 100, $70,000. So you go and pitch to an investor. Oh, I need $70,000 because I need to buy these iPhones, correct? So you as an investor, what is your risk? $70,000, okay? Now, another way to do the same thing. You come to the investor and say the following. Look, the iPhone will be in a warehouse that is controlled by you. So every time I sell the iPhone, I come and I put the money in your bank account, and you allow the warehouse to release the iPhone to me, so I can send to the client. So the iPhones are yours. By the way, I went to talk here with the supermarkets and electronic shops, and I have here, and I don't know in which country you are, but Media Market, Euronics, whatever, and they can buy during the next 6 months any iPhone for $650. At any time, new iPhone, they have a guarantee of $650. So my question to you is, what is the risk of the investor? So he buys at 700, and in worst case scenario, he sells for 650. So he loses 50. Times 100 is $5,000. $5,000 is nothing to an investor. So first project that is presented to the investor is $70,000 risk. The second one is $5,000. And when you as an entrepreneur mitigate the risk, what happens? $5,000 risk, this is nothing. I can do it by myself. I don't need investors. So many of entrepreneurs that have helped to mitigate the risks, then they stop asking the money from investors. And this is one of the problems that come from the previous panel, and I didn't want to intervene, but this is, but Pedro mentioned this. If you are going to help entrepreneurs as an investor, helping them and mitigating the risks, in the end, probably they will not want your money because they will see that there is no risk, or because they reduce the risk, they have other investors that will offer better conditions. So what is your role as an investor in this process? So I invented something that I called invest to option, which is invest to option. I have an entrepreneur that is good, and I like the entrepreneur, and I can add a lot of value. But I don't know if there is market, but I have a lot of contacts with this entrepreneur. So I stopped giving my phone book and give all my contacts to the entrepreneur, because sometimes they do business and they didn't even call me back and say thank you, at least a thank you. So what I say is, okay, I invest in you in these terms, so we agree the terms, but only after you talk with these potential clients that I'm going to open the door to you. And if you are successful, then I have the option to invest. It's myself that I have the option. If you don't reach these sales there, then of course I don't want to invest, and you are not forced to accept my money as well. So this is a fair game for both sides, because, you know, entrepreneurs, they can lie a lot, but investors can lie a lot as well. And they say, oh, I know this person, I know this, I opened the door. But the entrepreneur doesn't know if it's going to happen. So the best game to do this is to say, okay, let's put fair game. I'm going to open the door. If it's successful, then I can invest in you, is my option. If through my contacts you are unable to sell because my contacts are not interested, then you need to follow other direction. And in this way, I don't lose time helping someone, then in the end, I don't invest in.
Okay, I will share one example on this.
Great.
The entrepreneur who actually, it's an innovation. He invented a small gadget which helps to sleeping problem. Yeah, I mean, it's like, it's very small gadget, but he's not saying that this is gonna solve the problem totally, but it will help you when you are traveling. You don't need to take the inhaler or this and that. It was worth to see. And then he told me that I need to distribute this one in the market. Would you please help me to find a distributor? And I opened the door, one of the best distributor agency for the health, not the health product, but this sort of products. And immediately the guy who was going to distribute the product, he asked from him, send me 10 of your products. Then I will distribute these to my doctors, and then they will distribute to their patients, and I will receive the feedback of the patient, then I will start distributing your products. But the guy who asked me to open the door, he told me that I don't want investment, I don't want shareholder, I don't want equity, I mean the participant, I only want distributor. As you said rightly, Justin, I mean now it's almost 2 months, I did not hear any feedback.
From him. You are gone.
Yes, I don't mind, yes. But I mean I didn't start with that intention, but at least out of courtesy.
So, but you are not in investment, you are not in investment business, you are on charity business.
Exactly.
So
it became, yes,
it's
it became
philanthropist.
Thank you.
All right, so we are done. If you want to receive any news, you can just leave your email on Zero Risk Startup. When I launch the book, you will be the first one to know about it. No, I will. It's in English. It will be in English. Oh, the one that I launched, it was in Portuguese. Yes, it's about financial risk. So I focused on financial risk, and now I'm going to launch the book in different with all the risks, with the 5 risks. All right. Thank you for coming.